holograms, first of all, Fred.
Okay.
Explain how they work.
Okay. This is where I got to take some time on this one to get it right, where people understand it. But, for a long time we looked at the body as a cellular structure. And then we got into electricity. Oh, my God, the brain emits, electrical pulses. And that creates an aura field. And the aura field does things, and you can communicate with other humans. And so then we got into studies of, telepathy and all these kinds of things. The Russians were great leaders in this field.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, physicists like David Bohm came along, and he died in '92, but he was one of the first perpetuators in physics of what the hologram was all about. And then Dr. Prabram came along, and he was checking with rats. He was looking at rats, and he was cutting their brains up and putting them back in their head and doing all, and then running them through the mazes. And what he found was that even if he ground up a rat's brain and stuck it back in his head, he would still somewhat function. Now, if you did that to a human being, you would obviously destroy their intellectual capacity.
Sure.
But you wouldn't destroy their memory. So memory becomes part of the hologram. The hologram is something that has the ability to grow. And when we start talking about growing, it's like I met you at a certain point, and we met each other, and we've done these shows together over a long period of time, and we have a connection. Even before you called, I was listening to Stevie Nicks, and I was saying, there's George playing Stevie Nicks. Stevie Nicks was one of my greatest skeptics when I first started Paradigm.
Yeah.
We became great friends. And then and even your show tonight earlier, you were just so many nerves. So we're on the same wavelength on so many things. Okay, so that creates between us a quantum connection, as we would call it today. Now, a few years ago, if you're looking at a DeLore healing machine or radionics machine, you put a sample in it, and something would happen like a picture, and something would be affected, like maybe insects were killed in an orchard, miles away. People didn't know the proper terminology of how to describe what was happening. But when the hologram was introduced, and within the hologram, it has to have an illumination. A hologram is created, for example, by a 3-axis laser scanning an object if you're looking at a visual hologram. But in life, a hologram is made by the interaction of energies between us and other people. And this, as these energies take place, becomes what's called quantum entanglement. And once that connection is made, it's there forever. You cannot untangle it. It doesn't work. And then the physicist Alan Aspect demonstrated that you could split light in two directions and control the polarity of both beams going in the opposite direction at any distance in space and time. And this was a big breakthrough in quantum physics, defining what the hologram was. So the hologram basically is an illusion. It's, if I picked up a chair and I said, hey, George, where did chairs come from? You would resort to your historical ability to realize maybe a chair came from Holland or something,
Sure.
You know what I mean? In some basic time and place. So all of this starts to build up. And the beauty of the hologram is, as all of this intelligentsia builds up and combines and intermodulates and creates a perfect energy within itself, it doesn't go away ever. And if you were to look at this as a big pie and cut into a piece of pie, it's a cherry pie, and you take that cherry apart and you cut the seed apart, every element of that seed is the same thing as the entire contents of the pie.
Well, is the hologram, Fred, then literally capturing a structure or something, an object, and then it's projecting what it looks like wherever you want to project it?
No, it's not where you want to project it unless you're the military and you're using warfare. It's already there. You just have to become conscious of what it is. And that's where these deep, forms of meditation and things that the Eastern people do, and we do here. It's being able to comprehend and reach a knowingness in the soul of your existence, in the soul of your body. You've got to reach this knowingness to really work with a hologram. I mean, yeah, you can look at 3D TV now. Okay, everybody's going to get a 3D TV. Okay, there's a hologram that you can see with glasses on.
Right. Okay.
But life is a hologram. You don't need glasses. You just have to see it that way. And of course, it's hard to, because we get attached to it.
Well, see, and I'm convinced our little cell phones of the future will be seeing holograms of the person you're interviewing. So,
yeah.
For example, one day we'll be interviewing you, Fred, on this program, and millions of people will be able to see a smaller version of you in their homes.
Yeah, and I can look through my paperwork, but I've got a guy that's actually doing that now over in Arizona, believe it or not.
It will happen.
No, it's the University of Arizona has developed a real life hologram technology that goes right through the phone. I'm just looking up his name right now. I've been studying his work here.
Well, does the image look, is it like digital? Does it look broken up with little dots of light, or do you actually see structure and texture to the face and things like that?
I haven't seen that yet. I mean, as far as holographic projections go, I think that the government's obviously using them, but I think that some of the UFO contacts and that people have experienced in a good way have also been holographic projections, wherein you cannot determine what's real and what's not, because there is no difference anyway. It's just a complete projection. I mean, that's...
Well, let's talk about that and what the government's starting to do with holograms, because you claim that it's going to be used in warfare, and I want to find out why. And welcome back to Coast to Coast. We're with Fred Bell. Fred, let's get into the holograms. Tell me about the holographic warfare. What will they do with holograms in warfare?
Okay, let me explain. I'd like to start with a person that I've studied. His name is General John P. Jumper.
John P. Jumper?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
He 1998, in a news item, he stated that the military will have the tools to make potential enemies see, hear, and believe things that do not exist. And also that same idea, by the way, was contained in a 15 volume of the United States Air Force Scientific Board issued in 1996 on, U.S. and air superiority on the 21st century battlefields.
So you might see, let's say, a visualization of 1 million tanks coming your way.
Well, let me just take it a little further here.
All right.
Okay. When he retired as Chief of Staff of the U.S. Air Force, he was born in Paris, Texas, and he joined the Air Force in June '66 and made second Louis pretty quick. After graduating, he graduated from the Military Institute with a degree in electrical engineering. Okay, in the Air Force, while he was in the Air Force, he spent time at the Royal Air Force Base in Bentwaters, England. That's the site of many UFO incidents. He was the flight commander out at Nellis Air Force Base, and that's a control area for Area 51, and of course a site of reverse and alien engineering. He was on Area 51 a lot. And he was his last thing he was doing was at Langley Air Force Base, CIA headquarters. So then after that, he has every damn medal you can imagine. After that, he became a consultant to several different companies, including he was at a Lockheed Aircraft as consultant, and then finally, after consulting for several different companies, he ended up over at the Carlyle Group, where he is now.
Oh, okay.
Does that tell you anything?
Yep.
The Carlyle Group,
yeah.
Black Box.
The insiders.
The insiders, right. And he's a big guy over there. Now, just a few weeks ago, the Air Force, United States Air Force, once again, just bought a bunch of, it's called Persona Management Software. Are you familiar with it?
I am not.
Okay. They bought a huge amount of it, and what Persona software does is manipulates public opinion on key information such as news reports, and it creates an unlimited number of virtual people that can be marshaled by only a few individuals, and it allows them to create the illusion of a consensus thing. And this, I just saw the paperwork going through the funding, over at.
All right, now explain that a little bit more. How would that work?
Okay, you can look it up on the internet. It's called Persona Management Software. You can create. I think each system that they buy can create 10 virtual people, if I remember correctly. So they can create fake news reports or any kind of news report from anywhere. They can. A few people can do it, and then it creates an illusion of a consensus of a lot of people. This is what they're doing right now. This is their newest software. Now, I don't know if it's part of the, because the Chinese are trying to break into our stuff, but I'm telling you, this is some very powerful stuff. It just got set in for funding, and I know that they're buying I don't know, several millions of dollars worth of this, persona software. That's happening as we speak.
All right, give me an example how they would use it.
Okay, they would they would go on the air, somewhere in other countries or here, and they would present a situation that doesn't exist. They would actually animate with people that don't exist and make it look like a real life situation. That would be one area that they could.
So you'd see video of, let's say, the president with a virtual reality person who would look real,
right?
But the whole thing's made up.
Yeah, and an example of that is that when I worked at NASA, now we did go to the moon. However, NASA made the big mistake of doing a heck of a lot of videoing in the studio.
Yeah.
And they made the big mistake of presenting that video later because they didn't have very good video on the moon.
It got mixed in. It
got all mixed in, and this will get mixed in. And it's just like the other day when those birds dropped dead because of phosgene gas. Okay, down in Arkansas, and a bunch of fish got killed in a river. Well, what happened was we took from Iraq a whole lot of phosgene gas. But on the Geneva War, the treaties of war, that's illegal.
Was it gas we gave them in the first place?
No. I don't know where they got it from. I think they made it on their own, if I remember correctly. So what we were doing in near Beebe, Arkansas, and I remember I was stationed for a little while at an Army base down at Little Rock, a bioweapons center. When I first joined, I was in there for a while. But anyway, they were bleeding this gas into the ground, and I actually saw pictures of how they have these 737 jets, and just a little bit between the front section of the leading section of the wing and the back section where the pilot sits, about halfway back, you see these things. They look like they're governors. They look like a horn sticking out the side of the plane, and there's a whole row of them. They're like Venturis. And what they did is they sprayed this gas, and it attacks the central nervous system and causes the birds not to be able to breathe, and they just drop dead instantly. If you remember correctly, when they collected all the dead bird bodies, they were all wearing hazmat suits. Now, guess who brought this? Did you see? When that came up the day after that in Arkansas, and I was following this. When that came up, the news puts out this stupid story about lightning and this and that.
Oh, yeah, or fireworks.
Fireworks. Okay, guess who exposed it? Vladimir Putin exposed it. And I got it off the